What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new review. Today we are checking out one of the best budget phones available in 2018 and this one is called the Xiaomi Mi A2. So this is basically the same phone as the Xiaomi Mi 6X that was released about 3 months ago, but with this one we get a lower price, so you can find this phone for around $210 to $220, and I'll actually leave some links in the video's description. And we also get Android One instead of MIUI, and even though MIUI has gotten really good over the past year, some people may still prefer stock Android over MIUI. For specs, we have the Snapdragon 660, and this is a very powerful CPU that can handle anything from gaming to Facebook, so you shouldn't see any issues with performance. We also get 4 or 6 gigs of RAM, and you can get this phone with 32, 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage. Now I have the version that has 32 gigs of internal storage, but I do recommend that you try getting a version with more internal storage because this phone cannot take an SD card, so there is no way of expanding the internal storage. The build quality is also great and the phone feels very premium even though it's quite affordable. So the entire back is made out of metal and on the front we have a 5.99 inches screen that has a 1080p resolution. This is an IPS screen that has great colors and great viewing angles, and it gets bright enough so you can use it outside, and the screen looks great. But if you'd be to compare this screen to a flagship device, well, the screen is not gonna look that great then. But for a phone around $200, the screen does look great. Now, the phone could have been better as well, and there are a couple of things that could have made this phone so much better. The first thing would be a 3.5mm audio jack, because we are missing a 3.5mm audio jack. Sure, the phone comes with an adapter in the box, and you can use an adapter from the USB-C to a 3.5mm audio jack, but you always have to remember that adapter, so that's not great. The phone could have been so much better with an audio jack. We could have had stereo speakers. Like this we only have one speaker and the speaker is sitting at the bottom. And well, the phone is missing NFC, so if you're planning to use this phone for purchases, for payments, you're not going to be able to do that. And instead of that we get an IR blaster, so I guess you can control your TV with this phone, but I would have been happy to give up that IR blaster and get NFC instead. And just before we go any further, can you help me out by pressing that like button and maybe subscribing and turning on the notifications? It's gonna help the channel quite a lot. Another thing that could have been improved is the battery life. So inside this phone we have a 3010 mAh battery, and that's not bad because you can still get between 5 and 6 hours of screen on time, which is not bad compared to other flagships out there. But we've seen a lot of other budget phones from Xiaomi that can do way better than that. So the battery life could have been improved as well if we would have had a bigger battery inside this phone. Now, at least the phone supports fast charging, so charging the battery from 0 to 100 is done in about an hour and a half, so I can't really say that that's bad, but it could have been better. And that's pretty much everything that I can say bad about this phone, and it's not necessarily bad. There are things that could have been improved, because they're not necessarily bad considering the price of the phone. One good thing about this phone is the front-facing camera. So we have a 20 megapixel front-facing camera, and the front-facing camera can take really good looking pictures and better than a lot of other flagships out there. And these are some examples of some pictures that I took with this device. And talking about cameras, well, we have two pretty good cameras on the back as well. So the main camera, it's a 12 megapixel sensor with the f1.8, and the second camera, it's a 20 megapixel camera with the f1.8 as well. So the phone is using the same camera app that we've seen on some other Xiaomi devices, and the phone is also capable of recording in 4K. Now, if you're going to use the camera app, the stock camera app, unfortunately the image stabilization for 4K recordings doesn't work that well, or it doesn't work at all. But if you install another camera app like the Open Camera app, then you get image stabilization for 4K recordings. And this is a quick clip that I've recorded using the Open Camera app. This is a quick 4K video test done with the Xiaomi Mi A2. I'm currently recording using the Open Camera app, and if you're using this app, we also get image stabilization for 4K recordings. Otherwise, with the stock camera app, we don't get that, unfortunately. So this is how a 4K recording from this device would look like if you're using the Open Camera app. The picture quality is also pretty good and probably the best that you can take from a phone around $200. So if you take pictures with plenty of light, the pictures are very sharp, the colors are very accurate and close to reality, and even the dynamic range is decent enough. So for a phone around $200, this phone takes absolutely amazing pictures. If you take pictures in low light, well, the pictures don't look bad. I mean, they become a bit grainier here and they're a bit darker than other devices, other more expensive devices, but overall the phone still does pretty good for a phone around $200. So for taking pictures with this phone, you're absolutely gonna love this phone. Next to the rear cameras, we also have a fingerprint scanner, and the fingerprint scanner is very accurate and very quick, but we've seen that in the past for many Xiaomi devices, and the phone also supports face unlocking. Now, the face unlocking works good, but I prefer the fingerprint scanner over the face unlock because the fingerprint scanner works everywhere where the face unlock doesn't work if it's dark in a room. So if you prefer face unlock, the phone supports face unlock. If you prefer the fingerprint scanner is extremely quick. Performance-wise, I don't really have anything bad to say about this phone, and that makes sense because we have a powerful CPU and we have stock Android basically. So no matter what app you're gonna try on this phone, it's gonna work great. Now, the phone is not gonna be as fast as a phone using the Snapdragon 845, but you can easily use all the apps that you would normally use. So for example, Facebook, Instagram, scrolling up or down through your feed works great, and you can even play games like PUBG. Now, you're not going to be able to play PUBG at the maximum settings, you're going to have to lower the graphics settings, but the phone does good for that game as well. So I really don't see anything that you can throw at this phone to slow it down. Other apps like Chrome and YouTube work great as well, and really I don't see any apps that aren't going to do great on this phone. Now, we have stock Android on this phone, and a lot of people may be happy with that stock Android, but I have to be honest, I'm kind of missing some features from MIUI. So, because this is running stock Android, this kind of feels like a Pixel phone. Now, with the Pixel phone, you cannot move those buttons at the bottom. So if you want the back button on the other side, you cannot do it. And there are a lot of other small things like that that could become annoying. So stock Android is great because it's very light, but at the same time we are missing some features, and I feel that MIUI 9 and MIUI 10 are doing really good these days, and you're not gonna feel a difference between this phone running stock Android and a phone running MIUI. And we are moving on to the GPS unit inside this phone. So the GPS unit works great. It only takes half a second to find your location, and once your location is found, it doesn't seem to lose it, and you can use any navigation app without any issues. As for sensors, we have all the sensors that you would find in a flagship device, including a gyroscope, and everything seems to work good as well. Connectivity wise, as I said before, we don't have NFC, but we get dual band Wi-Fi and 4G connectivity, and here in Canada I was able to use the phone on 2G, 3G and on 4G. And the call quality is also good, and the speaker at the top here is loud enough. As for the speeds over the 4G network and the dual band Wi-Fi, they're also pretty good. And it's time to conclude this video. So for about $200, this is probably the best phone that you can get. I don't see any other phone around $200 that could be better than this one. And if you're on the fence about this phone, I do recommend that you get the phone because it is an absolutely awesome phone. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.